Anti-D Law welcomes you to the 7-day course for the LSAT-India. In this course, you will receive 7 lessons each for logical reasoning, analytical reasoning, and reading comprehension. So let's begin with today's lecture.
This lesson is AR3, the third lesson on analytical reasoning. So these are the details of the set of questions that we'll be solving in today's lecture. As you can see, this set has been taken from the official LSAT India Prep Test 3. If you want, you can go and have a look at this set on the official prep test as well.
So we'll begin by pausing the video and trying to understand these common directions for question number 1 to 5. As you know, these rules here apply to all the questions from question number 1 to 5. But let us say if you have question number 1 and question number 1 says that medicine X contains whatever, let's say it gives you a certain rule. This will not apply to any other question, right? So what is contained in question number 1 is a rule that applies only to question number 1. It's very important for you to remember that, which means the only thing that is common is what is given right now as what you see on your screen. It is the general rules that apply to all the questions. So pause the video and try to tabulate the data, trying to make a matrix of what you see here. Because once you can tabulate this data, you can start using it for the other questions, okay? Obviously, you can't use this in this form to solve the question. You have to simplify it. For simplification, you will have to process this data. At this point, this is data that has been given to you. You spend, say, 2 minutes on it and process it, and then we can go ahead and solve the questions easily. So just make sure you pause the video right now and give it a couple of minutes and try to process this, try to make a table, and then we'll solve this together. Alright, so I hope you've paused the video. If you haven't, see, there's no point in you listening to my explanation unless you have tried it by your own self, right? We can talk at a certain level only after both you and I have pondered a bit over the problem, okay? Because I've read the problem and then I come here. It's important for you also to have read the problem so that then we are on the same page. Okay, so what you can see here is that there are 4 kinds of medicines, okay? The 4 kinds of medicines are W, X, Y, and Z. Then you know that there are 4 kinds of side effects, and the 4 kinds of side effects, fortunately, all 4 have different, start with different alphabets. So you can call them fatigue, headaches, palpitations, and sweating. So now you have your code, and now you have a couple of rules that apply to all of these, right? Now it's better that when you see something like this, you should make a table out of this, you know. When you have a table, then you can start entering the data that you receive from here more effectively, and then you can keep just this table in your head or even beside you, as we will see once we go ahead in the questions. Now the choice that has to be made is, do you put W, X, Y, Z here and then you put F, H, P, S here, or do you go the other way around and you put W, X, Y, Z here and you put the F, H, P, S here, right? So this is a possible question that you might have in your head. This is good. Spend a moment, like I said, at this point, pause the video. And again, if you have done something, just try to see as to which choice you would make. It is in these choices, it is in your understanding of these tables that you start enhancing your ability to solve a question. So again, I'd say pause the video for 30 seconds. Just think about which of the 2 choices would be better for you. And then we'll go ahead and draw the table and then look at the questions as well. Okay, so if you'd paid a little attention to this, you would have realized that it doesn't really matter whether you have the format where you take F, H, P, and S here, and let's say you take W, X, Y, and Z here, okay? Now let's take an example. Let's say we look at the first instruction, okay? It says each medicine has at least 1 side effect. So let's take the example of, say, this X. If it has at least 1 side effect, it means, let's say it has headache. It has at least 1, that means it could have more than 1. So perhaps it has palpitations and sweating also. If I say Z, perhaps Z has only fatigue, it has headache, also perhaps Y. So you can see you can enter the data in here in this way. The other way of entering the data would have been if you had taken this the other way. It doesn't make a difference. Suppose I had put W, X, Y and Z here, and if I were to put F, H, P, S, now you just draw it a little differently. So let us say I want to say that the medicine W has headache, so I put a tick mark here. If I want to say that X has palpitations, then I put a tick mark here. If I want to say that Z has headache and sweating, then I can do this. If I want to say that Y has fever, I can do this. So as you can see now, and if I want to say that something does not have it, let's say W does not have sweating, then I put a cross. If I want to say that Y does not have headache, I put a cross here. And so as you can see, it's able to very conveniently tabulate the entire data about whether a medicine has a certain side effect or not. It doesn't matter really so much as to whether you place this here or whether you have to place it here. What matters is that you ultimately tabulate the data. So now that we've understood all of this, I will use the format, perhaps the second format, and we will now tabulate whatever data we can get. Okay, so let's start looking at what we have, and we'll start tabulating the data. Okay, so you have here, I'll first start off with the medicine. So you have W, X, Y and Z. Okay, and then the side effects that you have are F, H, P and S. Okay, so let's draw our table here. It's very important for you to be very neat when you're doing this. Of course, I'm using a digital pen, so my handwriting is not very good. But when you're using a pen yourself, make sure you are very neat in this, because if you make any mistakes in this, it will cost you heavily, right? So make sure you always are very patient and you write neatly while solving this. Okay, so let's have a look at the rules. Let's start with the first rule. It says each medicine has at least one side effect. All right, each medicine has at least one side effect. There is nothing I'd need to enter because of that, so we're done with this. Then it says no medicine has both fatigue and palpitations as side effects, which means that if a certain medicine, okay, if it has this for fatigue, it means I can surely say that it would have this for palpitations, right? Similarly, if it has this for palpitations, it has to be this for fatigue, because you can never simultaneously have this for both fatigue and palpitations. This is what we take away from this point. Okay, we will need this, remember this, we will use this. Then it says that medicine Z has no side effect common with any other medicine. What that means is that if there is a side effect that is there in W, X, Y, if it's there in any one of these anywhere, right? If this is anywhere, that will not be available in Z. Okay, what that means is that the side effect that is there for Z will have to be something that is not there in X, in W, X, Y or Z, in W, X or Y. What that means is, let us say if there is a tick mark here, if there's a tick mark in any of these anywhere, then a tick mark here will imply that there will be a cross here. If there's a tick mark here, it means there will be a cross here. And you know that Z should have at least one, because everything has at least one side effect, which means that, let us say, if I want to believe that perhaps Z has palpitations, if I want to take a case where Z has palpitations, so our table will look like this. Our table will basically look like a cross will be here, a cross will be here, a cross here and a tick mark here, right? Because Z does not have anything common with the others, right? It does not have anything common with the others. So if something is there as a side effect with Z, it surely means that no other medicine has it. It's an important point for us to remember. So if something is there so if there is, for example, there's a tick mark here, a tick mark means a cross here, a tick mark here also means a cross here. So any tick mark anywhere will imply a cross here. So the only case in which you can have a tick mark here is if all these three positions before it are crossed. Okay, this is what the implication of the third rule is. Okay, now let's go ahead and see what the next rule has to say. Let's just draw back the erased line. Okay, the next rule says that, let me just get the highlighter. Yeah, that the medicines W and X have exactly one side effect in common, which means that there will be one of these side effects, okay, which will be available on both, either it's fatigue or headache or palpitations or this thing, right? So you will have to see as to which one of these is common to both. There's exactly one. It means there is not more than one, not less than one. That is what the meaning of exactly one side effect means. It means there is exactly one, neither more nor less. Let's look at our next thing. It says that fatigue is a side effect of medicine W. Now we've got our first data which we can enter into the table. It says that fatigue is a side effect of the medicine W, which means fatigue is a side effect of the medicine W. Now you remember that no medicine has both fatigue and palpitations, which means if it has fatigue here, it means surely that it would not have palpitations. That's the first thing that you can get, you see, by using this rule. Next we look at the next rule after this. The rule says that palpitations are a side effect of medicine X. Likewise, if palpitations are a side effect of medicine X, by the same rule here, it implies that you cannot have a fatigue as a side effect of medicine X. There was one more thing. Let's look at the last rule. The last rule says that sweating is not a side effect of medicine Y, which means that I can put a cross here, right? So if sweating is not the side effect of medicine Y, I can put a cross here. Okay. Is this table complete, or can I conclude some more crosses and ticks from this? I can. You see, we'd seen that if there is a tick mark, anywhere here in these three, that would mean that there would be a cross here, because what is in Z will have to be something that is not there in W, X or Y, correct? So since you can see a tick mark here and a tick mark here, because of that there will have to be a cross here as well as a cross here. So let me put these two crosses. I'll put a cross here. This cross is because W has a tick, and I'll put a cross here because P has a tick. So as you can see, we have got our table here which summarizes this data, and now I will give you this data in a more I will just, for the sake of clarity in this video, I'll give it to you in a printed form so that it looks neater, and we'll keep this table with us as the base for solving all of these questions. So let us say you are solving this question by yourself. How I tell you to do it is that draw this data which is common to all in pen. Use pen, and the data which is given in the individual questions, right? Use pencil for that, so that you can simply erase the data of question number 1. So once you're done with question number 1, just erase what is given in pencil, then add the details of question number 2, add it to this. Let's say question number 1, question number 2 gives you some additional things like this and this. So once you're done with question number 2, just take the eraser and erase these things off. Then you go to question number 3. Okay, you get the point. So you can go to question number 3, add the details of question number 3, whatever. Okay, as you know, the details of question number 3 will be additional. They will never interfere with these things, right? Because these details are common. So you can keep these in pen. The only thing that will change is what I have shown you in red. Okay, so use a pencil for that. Now we'll go ahead and look at the questions one by one and solve these. Alright, so what you see here is basically the same table that we'd drawn, just that this is in print. So if I'm going to write here, I can just take the eraser and erase this thing off without being able to erase the others. Like I said, when you solve the question, make sure that all of these things that are the general points are in pen. And then in case you want to make an addition yourself, like say for question number 1, let us say question number 1 says that here this is there and this is not there, or whatever, you can just add that. And then when you go to the question number 2, you simply change this to question number 2, and you erase what is given, what you have done additionally for question number 1, and add in the details for question number 2. So question number 2 might require you to do this or whatever. So make sure you use this method whenever you solve a question on analytical reasoning. The common part should be in pen. The thing that varies from question to question should be in pencil. So now that we've understood how to do these questions, let's go ahead and solve them individually. We'll go to question number 1. Okay, so pause the video and try filling in the details into the table. You'd find that the question is really simple. Take a moment, try solving it by your own self, perhaps give yourself a minute, and then we'll solve it together. It's good for you to attempt it yourself before you listen to my explanation, otherwise this would be a waste of your time. Alright, so let's see what we have in question number 1. It says that sweating is not a side effect of X, which means I put a cross here. Very simple. Now once I put a cross here, okay, what are the things that I can infer thereafter? As you can see, there is a rule that we have here, and the rule is this. Okay, the rule is that medicines W and X have exactly one side effect in common. Now that medicine, that side effect is not F, because as you can see, it's not common. If it is common, what that basically means is that both W and X should have a tick. That's what common means, right? So as you can see, it's not F, it is not P, and since there's a cross here, it means it cannot be S, which means that that common one would have to be H, right? So this is what I can infer. So whenever you get a rule in that question, like I said, now question number 1 gives you an additional rule. This is the additional rule. One rule will always lead to your being able to make a few more things, and the moment you do that, then go back and look at the options. Okay, so now that we've done this, let's look at the options. Let's look at option number A. It says that fatigue is a side effect of medicine Y. Well, that's not something I can infer. Headaches are a side effect of medicine W. Oh yes, this works. So this is something that is true. So I keep this as a potential right answer. Of course, as regards option A, I eliminate option A. Then I look at option C. It says headaches are a side effect of medicine Y. I don't know. It's not been spoken of, so I'll eliminate this as well. Then it says headaches are a side effect of medicine Z. That surely is not happening, because if there's a tick here, that surely has to be a cross here. So I can definitely eliminate option D. And then it says palpitations are a side effect of medicine Y. Again, we don't know, so you can't say that it must be true. We have to see what must be true. So this is also eliminated. So the answer is very simple. We got it as soon as we saw it, that headaches are a side effect of medicine W. Simple question. I hope you realize that drawing this table and understanding this table makes life very easy. So when we go on to our next question, all we do is we erase this thing that we did for question number 1, because when you start question number 2, then none of these details is required. Question number 2 is a new leaf, and what we do is we only look at these common rules, and the common rules are basically contained in this common table. Let's go on to question number 2. Again, pause the video, try solving the question by your own self. Take a moment, take a minute, try filling things in, and then we'll go ahead and solve this together. Okay, again, the question becomes very simple once you have this table. This question can be solved in perhaps 5 seconds, right? Even 5 seconds is too much for solving this question actually, once you get the hint. Okay, let's fill in the data from the question. It says that sweating is not a side effect of medicine Z, which means sweating is not a side effect of medicine Z. Now, there is a rule that says that every medicine has at least one side effect. Okay, if this has at least one side effect, it means surely that Z would have headache as a side effect, and if headache is a side effect here, it means I can surely put a cross here, because that's what we'd seen, that if there's a tick mark here, it means there has to be a cross here, right? Now once we have this data, let us go and look at our options. It says that option L, let's look at A, fatigue is a side effect of medicine Y. Well, We don't know. Nothing has been said about it. Let's look at our next option. Headaches are a side effect of medicine W. That's not happening, because we just saw that if there's a tick here, then there has to be a cross here. This is also wrong. Option B is also wrong. Look at option C. Headaches are a side effect of medicine Y. Absolutely not. Headaches are a side effect of medicine Z. Well, yes. So at this point, we can say that option D looks like a good answer. Let's look at option E. Option E says that palpitations are a side effect of medicine Y. We don't know. So which is the one that must be true? It is option D, and therefore we've got our answer. It was so simple. Again, like I said, you go ahead, when you go for your next question, you get rid of all of this and you start off with what is common. Alright, so pause the video and solve this question by your own self before you listen to my explanation, okay? So I hope you paused it. Look at this statement here. It says, which of the following could be true? If you had noticed in the previous couple of questions, it had asked you as to which one must be true. There's a difference between must and could. Let me give you an example. Let us say you don't know whether this would be a tick mark or whether it would be a cross. Okay, that means it could be a tick or it could be a cross, which means that it could be this or it could be this. Correct? Whereas with this, you know that for the medicine W, fatigue must be a side effect. You know that for the medicine W, palpitations must not be a side effect. So that's the difference between could and must. So make sure you remember that. When you look for must, like you saw in the previous question, that in the previous question I told you that if there's a question mark given there, when it's a must question, then I eliminate the option. But when it's a could question, when there's a question mark, that becomes a possible right answer, because what is not known could be this or it could be this, right? When you don't know what it is, you have to eliminate it when the question asks a must of you. It's a very important rule. It's important, like I said, in analytical reasoning, to understand the precise meaning of words. Obviously now we have to look at them option by option. Let's go for the option A. It says fatigue is a side effect of medicine X. Fatigue is a side effect of medicine X. Oh no, I eliminate the first option because it is a bad option. Okay, let's get rid of this. Next, fatigue is a side effect of medicine Z. Absolutely not. So I eliminate this too. It says headaches are a side effect of medicine X. Okay, so this is empty. This is vacant here. So this is possible. Like I said, it could be. So we keep this. Let's look at option D. Option D says that palpitations are a side effect of medicine W. Palpitations W. Oh, absolutely not. So I eliminate this as well. Then we see palpitations are a side effect of medicine Z. Oh no. So we eliminate this one too. Leaves us with only this one, because you don't know. So it could be true or it could not be true. But we are here to see, could it be true? Yes, of course. And therefore we have our right answer as option C. Let's go ahead to our fourth question. Take a moment to solve this by your own self. Pause the video. And I hope you're getting the hint. It's very simple once you can draw the table. So always try to get this organized structure whenever you solve analytical reasoning. Every kind of reasoning is always about being clear in your head about what is there. When you have the cards on the table, clearly the questions on reasoning are very simple. Reasoning is basically the ability to think clearly, to know what is there, to know what must be deleted, to know what must be added. Alright. So it says that, question number 4, I'm solving it for you. I hope you pause the video. It says that if W, X and Y have a side effect in common. Okay. Now, if they have a side effect in common, what that means is that there should be a tick mark on W, X and Y, all three. That is what it means, a side effect in common. Now, can that happen with F? No, because X has a cross here. Can that happen with H? Yes, it can. Can that happen with P? No, because there's a cross here. Can that happen with S? No, because there's a cross here. So what that means is that when I look at this statement, the next thing I immediately can do in my question is that I put a tick, I put a tick, and I put a tick. Okay. When I put a tick here, I am certain that I have to put a cross here, because when there's a tick here, Z has to become a cross here. And if there are 3 crosses here, then surely this one has to be a tick mark, because Z must have at least one side effect. And if there's a tick mark here, what that means is the other 2 here will also have to have a cross. Okay, so now we've got all the data that we could from this one statement that was given to us here. So now let's look at option by option. Again, this is the question where you're being asked which one must be true, which means that if you have a blank space like this one, this you cannot say. So if this were a question relating to could be true, a blank space could be true. But when you talk of must be true, this option has to be eliminated, because a blank space does not tell you that something must be true. All right. So let's look at option A. Option A says that fatigue is a side effect of medicine Y. Fatigue is a side effect of medicine Y. This is empty, which means I don't know about this. So what I'll do is I will straight away eliminate this, right? Let's look at our next option. Headaches are a side effect of medicine W. Headaches are a side effect of medicine W. Okay, so this works. This is a right answer. So what I'll do is I'll highlight this in yellow for the time being, because it looks like a good answer. Next, we look at the option C, that headaches are a side effect of medicine Z. Headaches are not a side effect of medicine Z. Therefore, I will eliminate this option. Okay, let's just eliminate option C. Let's look at option D. It says that palpitations are a side effect of medicine Y. Palpitations, you have nothing here. Since it's empty, it has to be eliminated. I'll eliminate this as well. Let's look at option E. Sweating is a side effect of medicine W. Sweating of W, it's a cross, which means I have to eliminate this one as well. So your answer is very obvious. The answer is option B. Let's go to the last question. I hope you're getting the hang of it now. Let's solve the last question of this set. Again, try it by your own self first, and then we'll solve it together. Okay, so what you can see here is it says that medicine Y has more than one side effect. What that means is it should either have 2 side effects, or 3 side effects, or 4 side effects. But you know, Y cannot have 4 side effects, because you've already said that it cannot have sweating as a side effect, which means that it can either have 2 side effects or 3 side effects. Okay, now which means that it can either have, so it has to choose between these 3, fatigue, headaches and palpitations, right? But there is one more rule we have to remember, and that rule is what you see here, that no medicine has both fatigue and palpitations as side effects. What that means is that you cannot have 3 side effects for Y, because if that were to happen, suppose we were to give it 3 side effects, that would mean that you have both F and P, and according to this rule you cannot have both F and P, right? So because of this rule you cannot have all 3, which means that when you say more than one side effect, it essentially means that you can have only 2 side effects. That's what it means. You can have only 2 side effects. Okay, now let us say those 2 side effects, and those 2 side effects cannot be F and P, right? Because F and P cannot exist simultaneously, which means you either have to have F and H. So there are only 2 possibilities that can happen. Either you have F and H, that's the first case, that's the case 1, or the second case is that you have P and H, right? That's the second case. Okay, in either case it means H will have to be a side effect of Y. And then when you look at the options, you can clearly see that the first option, headaches are a side effect of Y, is the true option, because in any case this will have to be true, whether it is case 1 or whether it is case 2. So as you can see, this is the very clear and obvious right answer. So you see, once you have this table, the question becomes very easy to solve. If you have any questions related to this question, you may ask me in the comment section and I'd be happy to help. I hope this video made sense to you. Thank you so much.